Oh, and we are live on the show. Man, oh man, what a week. What a week. A lot of stuff going on in the world. I'm not as much concerned about that. In my own damn world, I think that we all have our survival every day to get through. You know, it's I mean, there's always going to be a war somewhere. There's always going to be some kind of thing, whatever, terrible thing happen. You can't focus on it, man. You can't focus on it. I know people that get like freaked out and that's all they can think about is like this what's going to happen in the world. Oh my god, the world. It's the world. The world is always the same. There's no change to the world. People the same. People will be out there to whatever motivates them to do terrible things to you or act a certain way or disrespect you. You know what I mean? In daily life, you run into a lot of that. Can't harp on it. Doesn't do you any good. Takes you down. Puts you down on the ground. And I think that you just have to keep pushing forward and keep pushing forward and try to be the stream of the universe. Flowing, flowing, flowing back into the sea. So but in your daily life, you're gonna run into everything, and there's good people too. Good people that wish you well and say nice things. And you know, I like to achieve superiority, and I tell people, "God bless you." If you throw that one out, God bless you, and they're like, "Ooh, thank you." Even if they're not like religious, they know it's a huge honor. They're like, "Ooh, ooh, thank you." Did I mean it? Did I ever mean it when I said I was sorry? When you're a kid, they made to go, tell them you're sorry. I was never sorry for the things if I was sorry, I wouldn't have done it to begin with. Like I had some kind of insight. Am I proud of everything I've done in my life? Of course not. That's life, man. Am I sorry about some shit? Yeah, maybe. But probably 80% of it that I had to apologize for in my life when I was young. When I got older, that didn't matter anymore. Tell them you're sorry. I'm sorry you're an asshole. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you made me do that terrible thing to you. I'm sorry. So life moves pretty quickly though, man. You turn around and all these years are gone, baked away. You know, memories, man. What kind of memories are you gonna have? You sitting there upset about stuff all the time, worrying or whatever. You gotta put that aside and just kind of live your life and push past it. That's all. Push past it. You don't worry about life. Life ain't worrying about you. Support the people around you. You know, and people are funny, right? Sometimes even a little surprising, but I like to think that I don't get surprised off of people and their antics anymore. I kind of think that I'm in a place where I have a zero tolerance for BS, and the second I start to feel some turbulence, I'm like, whatever. The red flags come up, I'm done. I already know what I'm dealing with. I can look at people and tell you what's coming. I have a sense now, that I didn't have when I was very, 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 very young, like 2 or 3 or something like that. Yeah. The more you grow, I've always known what people were about, though. As an empath, you feel it. You feel it. And you can decide whether you want to deal with that or not. And sometimes people are there for the intention to use you and hurt you and do whatever. And sometimes even an empath, you walk right into it. So how do you get away from it? I think that you have to just wrap yourself in that white light and try to keep those negative entities as far away. I got a friend doing battle with, with it's going to sound crazy, but in the paranormal world, we always say we're ready to believe you. And if it wasn't this guy, this particular person, I don't know if I would believe a lot of it, but it is him, and it's somebody I've known. Man, I don't know, 40 years or something. Yeah, 40 years. Him and his two brothers, all very different, all cool in their own way. But and this guy, he's an actor. He was. He was on The Sopranos and a whole bunch of other things. Law and Order. So, and he's cool with me telling the story because I'm not mentioning his name. So, when he got into the whole acting thing and started, joined the Actors Guild and all that, and he started getting better gigs, higher paying gigs, got into some movies, with really amazingly famous people. I mean, big headline movies, uh, television shows, the same. It's funny. Like, what was it? 15 years ago, whatever. Laying in bed with my ex and we were watching television, right? And it was Law and Order. And this guy comes on the screen. And I'm like, that's my friend. That looks like that is a dead ringer from my friend, like my lifelong friend, this guy. But I had moved away to upstate New York. We called each other here and there, but people lose touch, man. There was no internet really, like not really. There kind of was when I moved off of like away from the city. It was like over 30 years ago. So, but anyway, so this dude, I started talking to him, and then he's telling me about these acting gigs. I'm like, oh man, was that you? Is that Joe? He's like, yeah. And then he starts telling me that he's hanging out with these actors, some pretty big names too. They invited him out to a club in the city. So he goes there. My friend, really great looking dude. I mean, like he could be one of the Jacksons, man. Like he's got that look. He's got that kind of energy about him too. Like anyway, so he's telling me like he's hanging out with these people, and they start telling him about all this Satanism stuff. And this guy at that point was a Muslim, from Christian to Muslim. So he's listening to them talk, maybe become one, be part of us, all the Satanism stuff. So he rejected all that. He got the heck out of there. He really didn't want anything to do with them. And right after that, all this negative stuff started not just happening to him, but all right. Then I was on the phone with him. He said he's laying there in bed, just sort of chilling, right? And while I was talking to him, he said just black cloud was appearing above his head. So then I'm trying to me, Mr. Private Investigator on one side, but paranormal investigator on the other side. I like to think that I have an open mind, but I always default to my bullshit button. But if it was anyone but this dude, I have to believe him because I know him so well, and he's not crazy. He's not messed up. He's he's actually a victim from what I gather from the whole thing, you know. And I'm on the phone with him, and I heard voices, that type of crap. When that cloud appeared, when he told me, and he's like, Do you hear them? You hear them? They're talking at me. Do you hear them? like, like, yeah, I actually do. You know, it's not the first time I've heard something like that either. So I'm familiar with what it sounds like. You know what I mean? Like when you hear an EVP, you know what it sounds like. It's got a particular sound. So he's going through all that, and had gotten really sick. He had gotten really sick, and people beat him up. He was walking on the boardwalk down there, and a whole bunch, like three idiots beat him up, took his money, whatever. All this bad stuff was happening. He stopped acting because of all this. So then he moves into a building that has a lot of Puerto Ricans, he says, and they're all into magic. And then they're all, I guess there were some words, and they painted some weird thing on his door, which is like some kind of curse. And then I'm like, dude, you gotta just like move away from that and go see someone and you know do some spiritual cleansing or whatever. Try to get away from that type of stuff. And I believe in it. I believe in that type of energy because I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it work. I've seen it do its business. And I also believe that if people believe it, it's as bad or even worse. You know, but is that Hollywood? Is that what? I mean, I understand that is a lot of it in Hollywood is like that. A lot of people are into the dark arts and whatever. Not just that, freaking politics, man. Hillary Clinton, they hacked those emails from her right hand man Podesta, and he was some kind of wizard, and he had all these incantations and stuff. He's all into magic and that. Yeah, man, I believe it. You get a sense for people when you're around them. You know what they're into it, but you don't want anybody focusing that type of energy on you, you know. And with my friend, I just talked to him the other day. He's kind of still suffering because he's still going through. He thinks that people are working on him all the time, but don't be a victim, man. Don't be a victim, and then watch out who you're dealing with. You never know who you're dealing with. You're driving down the road, somebody cuts you off. You get next to them, F you, yeah, fungool. Ooh. They pull out a gun and shoot you right in the head because they don't have any limitations. Like the there's criminal elements out there that have been empowered by Democrats and Democrat judges in courts and district attorneys. They've commit crimes and they realize they can get away with those crimes. They've been empowered to commit more crimes. You know, there's places down in the city, man, that you really shouldn't be, especially at night. You don't want to be in those neighborhoods because you'll be in danger. You'll be in danger. Bedford Stuyvesant is famous for that. There's a website that you can monitor the crime minute to minute. What happens in Bed-Stuy? Robberies, murders, rape, whatever. Spike Lee's movie, Do the Right Thing, vilified the Italian pizza guys that owned the Italian food restaurant in the neighborhood, the holdouts, and then the police, right? Vilified the police. Love the movie. Do the Right Thing. It's a fantasy movie. It's not a real reality movie. It's a fantasy piece. Very artistic. Spike Lee, awesome vision for art. The camera angles and all the intent of the content was awesome, man. But The one thing the movie didn't have, the whole movie, not at any point, a movie shot in Memphis, Stuyvesant, the one thing it didn't have was black on black crime. Well, what happened to that? Because in black neighborhoods, there's a hell of a lot of black on black crime. The police are always responding for those crimes, for people to report those crimes. The cops just don't come around and bust balls. Yeah, they do, but they're responding to crime. They're responding to something going on. You're right. And those cops know that their lives are in danger. And they also know that they want to go home to their families. Spike Lee left all of that out and just kind of said the cops are evil. The pizza guys are racist and they're evil. They deserve to be burned out. They burn the place out. Neighborhood doesn't have pizza anymore. Right? And then yada yada yada. A lot of points and angles, but you can't tell a story unless you tell a story right. Otherwise, it's your fantasy piece to see like you have to watch the movie and kind of laugh a bit to see that if you knew the reality of those neighborhoods, and keep in mind those neighborhoods, the high crime neighborhoods, the neighborhoods where your life is in danger, are always under Democrat control. And you gotta say, well, if you care about people, how come you don't fix it? They have bigger budgets. When people say that, uh, better neighborhoods are safer because they have more police, it's not true. Those neighborhoods are safer because of the people that live in those neighborhoods who don't go out and commit crimes and do all these terrible things. Right? In fact, there's less police in those neighborhoods than in the high crime neighborhoods because you need more police in the high crime neighborhoods. All right. So what's the solution? What's the answer? How do you fix the problem? You know what? It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen from a movie. It's not something that's going to happen, because you want it to. It's something that's got to happen. It's got to evolve. Black people in America have been dealt a terrible, terrible hand. They came here in a terrible way. They were treated horribly. I mean, you probably couldn't even imagine. They talk about slavery and the slavery years. You probably couldn't even imagine the atrocities, aside from the normal atrocities that they had to go through, but the people that went great lengths to torture these individuals, men, women, and children, their babies, and all that. You can't just undo that. The black people today don't have a connection with that past of understanding that type of pain. But this is the deal. Back in the day, when black people were rising to the top, when they were owning businesses, when they were, going out dressing beautifully, suits, dresses, going to these great shows and that type of thing. When black baseball players started to play, they showed up in big numbers, looking good, acting good. It wasn't any kind of thing, right? But there was an element that saw this, and they didn't want these black people to succeed. They didn't want them to be the doctors and the lawyers and the people in charge. They wanted to keep them down and subservient, right? So then, not long later, welfare was created basically for women in the military, women whose husbands left for the military in World War II and all that other thing. It was only meant for people to sustain while their husbands were away fighting a war, right? But then it was bastardized, and then it was pushed on a lot of people, especially minorities. So What happens if you stop working and someone just hands you a check and you don't have to think anymore, you don't have to go out anymore, you don't have to dress nice anymore, you don't have to do any of that stuff to go to work, I mean, you don't have that respect either, or even the respect of your kids. People growing up seeing their parents take a check from the government, they don't have that same level of respect of, okay, my mother's this, my father's that. They do this, they do that, and they go out and earn a living and support us. There's a whole different thing. So you could take all of that and roll it up into a ball, and then throw it at a certain segment of society. If they take the bait, they're going to take the money, and they did. A lot of them put them in the government housing projects, which are the worst possible place. If you saw how people really lived in those places, you'd be you'd be shocked, because you'd think that, oh, it's government, they're going to have some kind of level of control and make it nice and whatever. No, elevators don't work, lights don't work in hallways, crime all over the place. Uh, you know, Drug sales, drug deals, whatever, everything you can think of is bad is happening there, right? How do you fix that? And then those children growing up there, they see that and they have to live with that and have to alter their lives because of the crime outside. And then meanwhile, you know, the police can only do so much when the judges, the police. I know a lot of cops, and I knew a lot of cops down in the city, NYPD. They arrest people, they bring them in, the judges let them go. A few hours later, they're back on the street doing the same thing with no idea of how to fix the problem. So then they politicize it and they race bait you. They say white people are responsible for this and black people are that and this and that and this and that. It doesn't help the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. Oh, the problem's multiple. The problem. I remember Rockaway. I used to hang out in this neighborhood. It was predominantly black. They had one bus that did the loop. And it didn't go anywhere. It looped around. It went from the social services to the supermarket to the plaza that had the beauty and whatever, get your nails done type of thing. It didn't go anywhere. They looped around. The most enterprising ones I've seen from that neighborhood were these crackheads that got together and started doing a van service because that loop bus barely even ran. So these guys are running people for $1, taking these vans, charging them a buck, you know? And they got really, they got like actually successful and made it into a huge business. Mother of invention, man. It was necessity, right? But it's not like you can hop on the bus and then make your way into New York City. I mean, yeah, there's a train there, a path train. I mean, there are ways, but it seems like those ways were really discouraged. And then across the street, literally, you have the huge area, big Jewish area, Lawrence and all that, and uh, these towns that are very rich. The houses is worth millions of dollars, and you know, right across the street. I mean, they could probably hear the gunshots that are going off nightly in Rockaway. Those things haven't changed. There's still a ton of crime. If you don't put criminals in jail, they're going to be running the streets. The more powerful, especially they're in gangs, the more powerful they get, the less powerful the police are. The police are being attacked by illegal aliens. I see it all the time. I was watching a story the other day. Like they were throwing things at the cops, bottles and whatever, and a gang of kids, illegal alien children who are known to the police and known to the area as being a theft ring. They brutalize people, beat them up, take their money, Central Park, other places. They go into businesses, stores, rob the places. And you're like, and the Democrats are protecting them. And you're like, what? What is the mindset? What's the mindset behind that? You know, you're not. First of all, they're not Americans. Second of all, if they were Americans, they're still criminals. Third of all, you should be protecting the victims, the innocent people, not the criminals. And then this is where they fail. This is where the Democrats have really taken a dump, man. You know what I mean? Because they've lost touch with everything. Like that stupid rocket that went on Bezos's rocket, and he loaded up. They're all liberal, if you think about it. But they loaded them up with these girls, women, launched them into. No, it wasn't even space. They sent them up, came back down, and then they were like, "This is, biggest achievement of women, and all these things. How this is, push women forward, and this is, like a moment to remember for women." And I'm like, what? Like what? They so none of them knew. None of them were mission specialists. None of them knew anything about spaceships. They got in there, strapped in by a billionaire, sent up there. One of them was his girlfriend. They came back down. The whole thing was very suspicious and fishy. I don't know. The whole thing was weird. The whole thing was weird. if as I looked at it and whatever, I'm like told. But you know what it was? It was freaking Josie and the Pussycats, man. It was that cartoon I used to watch when I was a kid. Josie and the Pussycats. Without the dude, they sent him up. Psh, they came back down. Psh, and they all made such a big deal. What was that? One of them was a musician. What the hell's her name? I blocked them all out because my brain works like that now. It shields out people that horrify me. And then I don't know, she's like, incorporated the whole thing into her act, and how they're all astronauts now. She said they're astronauts. She couldn't remember the word astronaut, so she said ass. Ass is right. They're like more like the astronauts. There's no achievement by women there except they walked in the thing and got strapped in and sent them up and they came back down. A lot of women do that every day. There's there are you can't knock. You know what? I'm tired of the whole male female got knock women or whatever. Women are amazing. They're amazing. The men are amazing too. And then the two groups have different things in common, and they could be amazing together. But there's not, yeah, men are better at some things than women, especially physical stuff. Women are better at some things than men, like giving birth, that type of stuff. So you can't knock women. If I'm going to sit here and name the strongest people I've ever known, not one of them is male. They're all women, including my mom. You know, mom going through her cancer battle. She was amazing. She would get her chemo and go back to work. She loved the job. She loved what she did. She loved the people that she worked with. Mother's Day tomorrow. Thinking about mom, of course. Thinking about her all the time. This is the worst corridor because, like, what day she died, and then Mother's Day, and then her birthday are kind of in a row, Aside from that, when you lose somebody, it's all those holidays and birthdays and that stuff just becomes a big freaking brick wall that you're going 100 miles an hour face first into. The more you hear about it, the more you're like, ugh. And I don't want to like diss anybody's. You got to honor the loved ones and all that. I'm just talking about the void, not having them. Not being able to share those things with them. You know what I mean? One of my friends just lost his mom. He was talking about the last conversation. You know what's messed up too? He said exactly like what I would do too. like when we would travel, you get into a hotel. Like my mom was always like, "Give me a call when you get into the hotel, so I know you got there safe." And yeah, you do it, and you get used to doing that. And then when my mom died, there was that first time I went to go call her. I picked up the goddamn phone to call her. You know that right there. You know what I mean? That right there. Or something really good happened. I got a great promotion at work or whatever. I actually picked up the phone to call her then too, and that was like a year after she had passed. I had 6 months or maybe 8 months, whatever it was. And you just realize they're not there. They're there, but they're not there. It's not something you can have a conversation. Those memories are gone. Not gone, but they start. You know what? With memories, it's weird. They change over time, and then the further you go down that rabbit hole, you understand that you look at the pictures on your phone and whatever, and you realize there's not going to be any new pictures. There's not going to be anything new. New memories, I should say, new memories. Being able to create that. So then why are we here? You get into that scenario. If I'm not enjoying life, I mean, do I define my life and the lives of others? People shouldn't, but sometimes we do, especially when they're the center of your universe. Sometimes that we do. So I crashed and burned. I gained a ton of weight. Tried to eat my way out of it. That doesn't work. That's worthless. Now I'm trying to lose it. And that's hard, man. That's hard, you know? But then it's kind of weird because now, like, I don't even care about food. It's kind of, it's funny. Used to call my mom and she'd make sure I had dinner and that type of thing. And I made sure she did too. These were daily conversations, gone. And things get awfully quiet. There's other people you can talk to. There's other people you can reach out to. Yeah, sure. It's not the same. When you lose that one, it's not the same. So do you end your life because of it? Some people think about it. Some people even attempt it. Not worth doing it. Because the person that you lost is not going to want you to do that. They're not going to want you to do that at all. They're going to want you to go forward and be everything that you can be. They want you to be happy and then try to find happiness. So you got to go out and look for happiness. It's a very different world now. Even dating, the whole dating world is like weird. And I had gotten so tired of it. Like after my last relationship ended, I was just tired, tired of bullcrap. And I didn't want to bring any of my ill feelings onto somebody else because people do that. They get involved with somebody else and take out all that negative stuff that somebody else did to them on you. I've been through that, you know? So you sit on the sidelines for a minute and then, you look at dating as dating, and the internet has changed so much. It's gotten, I think that it's hard to meet somebody online. It's not good to do either. In fact, if you meet somebody in real life and they have a Facebook account, you should just keep going. Not. And I have a Facebook account, but I don't live by it. I don't. I don't. I don't get my kicks from it. I don't establish myself spiritually by it. But there's a lot of women out there that love the attention that they get, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what they look like, which is nice because people like to show you attention. But there's always going to be 250 guys that'll be like, "You're beautiful, whatever." the ones that show their boobies like, you know, big cleavage hanging out or whatever. It's like it's desperate to me. It's desperate, you know. I like ladies. So the type of women I like would never, never, ever wouldn't even think about it, you know. I like intelligent women that have a nice sense of humor, you know. But when you know, I got friends who get in relationships with girls that got tattoos on their faces, and I'm like, you're gonna be disappointed soon. Some shit. I said, there's something going on there. I'm in the mindset that I would lock anybody up that had a tattoo on their face, man, just on spec alone. You got a tattoo on your face, that's good enough reason to lock you up. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. If you're out there and you got a tattoo on your face, you're a mad or a dog. I don't care. There's something wrong with you. You need help. You need help. Big tattoo on your neck or whatever. Ugh. Neck is a mixed bag, but the face, dead giveaway. Take a look at mugshots online and see how many of them have a face tattoo. There's a lot. So, you know, I don't get surprised at stuff when people are like, oh, God. I love the guys that go on Facebook and announce their relationship. I am dating Betty. Look at it. And then there's this chick next to him, like, yep, I'm so in love. That's lust for you, man. Lust will send you into that fake love shit. Like you start floating like, I'm in love. Start singing. The raccoon. The raccoon out there. Big raccoon outside. A bear. I had a bear out here. So yeah. So whatever, man. And then you see these guys like 3 weeks later, you know, I'm single. They have to announce it. Who cares? I am single. I am with uh they get when they're with the person, they're like tethered in their photos, you know. It's just kind of, it's like really funny, man. Because it's so unnatural. It really is unnatural. Just be yourself. Find someone who likes the things you like. You really have to. You can't, I mean, they don't have to like everything you like, but they have to like some of the things that you like, and that's how you're gonna get along. And relationships, you know what? I get bored with people really quickly, and then I'm stuck. I'm already in. I've already walked through the damn door, and now I'm bored. Or you start seeing people for what they really are. Because like when you're dating, they don't show you what you really are. You know, they don't even show you what they really look like. All kinds of makeup on and stuff. That's why I like girls with no makeup. You know, the more natural you are, the better. I'm not into that superficial world. I like people who are real as can get. Ladies, real ladies. And then, you know, those are the ones who deserve a gentleman. Mom raised me to be a gentleman. And I've had my share of whatevers through life, especially when I was younger. You know, that was the music business, that was the city. You know, I kind of like to observe a lot. And there's people that you really like that you think that you'd be good with, and it doesn't work out. And then it could be a crushing blow. You know, so you have your share of pain. And there's two raccoons out there. You get your share because we all experience it. Let me tell you, life is temporary. It's full of pain, but not all the time. You can't define yourself in wealth. You can't define yourself with religion. You can't define yourself with anything that's outside your soul. Really, I mean, the things that you can define yourself with is being a decent person, being kind, being loving and caring. The ones who will say, "Yeah, yeah, I know them. Yeah, they're a really nice person," you know. All right, that's what you can do. Look at like they got a new pope, right? Pope Leo, who's a Republican from Chicago. He's sat in bumper to bumper traffic and eating deep dish pizza. I think that the Catholic Church has come a long way. Maybe he's the current CEO, right? The face anyway of the Catholic Church. And do you think? I mean, because so the last one, Francis was very, very, very liberal and a Jesuit at that. Had his own ways of doing things, and those ways aren't the church ways because the church ways, those rules are already been written. Hard to come along and change those things. I don't like this, and this, but I don't do the Catholic Church, man. I mean, I grew up in a town that had the archdiocese to the church, and they had so much power and control, and there just wasn't. It wasn't about Jesus. Not the Jesus I read about. Maybe the one I don't know. The one I read about wasn't into any of that. Didn't believe in the wealth and the gold and the jewels and all the stuff, the money, the power. Jesus? Can you imagine that? Isn't that kind of funny even to think about? Like a Jesus being into that type of stuff. Like it's Jesus. It was the guy who went out and told people that stuff was bad. But then, boom, look what happened. Look what happened. They didn't like him then. The Pope didn't like him then. They didn't like him then, right? And they were out there, man. So I think that you need to beware, beware of greed and anger. Well, what we talked about last week, I showed the pyramid chart on how you can kind of maintain that high level of being and not in a euphoria situation, not feeling all these things, but greed takes you down a bad path. But how I feel about the Pope, people ask me that, how you feel about the Pope. How much time do you have? How do I feel about the Catholic Church? How do I feel about any cult religion, any of these entities? When I was all right, this is how I feel. This is going to sum it up in a nutshell for all of you, right? I was like, I don't watch television anymore. I don't even own a TV anymore. I have a large computer, right? Screen, computer. I watch stuff on there, movies and whatever. And then I don't watch television anymore. I don't watch the news anymore. I'm actually into YouTube, these YouTube people that are doing real things. Even the guys, like these guys that chase tornadoes, man. I'd be out there with them if I could. It's cool because they're real. And it doesn't, like when you watch them driving around, talking, or whatever, you just realize they're a bunch of crazy kids, young dudes. There's one girl out there too that's doing it. And then they build these huge audiences. And then, this one guy's got a large following and he's putting memberships out for $1 a month. That $1 a month, if he's got, 20,000 people giving him $1 a month, he's making 20,000 a month plus all the other stuff he's getting. I think these guys are geniuses, really. But I'm watching them because I'm bored. I keep it on in the background. So it's kind of something I watch in the background because I'm waiting for a tornado. And then they're cruising around, acting kind of fools and whatever, young dudes, and it's fun to watch because it reminds me when I was that age and being the same douchey type of person. But there was no YouTube back then. It's the only thing. And we played a lot harder than, than these guys. But anyway, the guys that chase the freaking tornadoes. There's one dude catches up to one and he's like driving after it. This tornado is just mowing over houses. Like it's devastating. It causes a lot of emotions in you because you don't know if someone's in there and their pets and whatever. And here's a stupid funnel that just destroyed their whole goddamn house. The one thing about the show, it's real. It's real. It's not pre-programmed. It's not scripted like reality shows that are scripted. It's not scripted. It's real. And I think a lot of people are looking for real these days. They're not looking for this Hollywood crap. There's a big backlash against Hollywood people. Now you got the Puff Daddy thing and his, this guy with the sex trafficking and this and that and whatever. There's some bad stuff apparently that went on there with him and all the people around him. Many around him were also famous. A lot of them musicians, a lot of them actors. So what kind of industry is it really that has the Harvey Weinsteins and the Epsteins who are the pimps for children to the super powerful politicians and actors and musicians, right? So we can't hold our heads high unless we prosecute those people and bring them to justice. I mean, all of them. You know? So this is what got me about this. So I'm watching YouTube. I'm kind of this, that, and I see, all right, they're waiting for the Pope to come out, the new Pope. I'm like, okay, I have attention span of a carrot. So if it ain't happening right away, I'm gonna just kind of click away. That's the YouTube world that your average viewer is viewing for just a few minutes, really, before they click away. So unless it's something riveting that you have to watch, right? So the waiting for the guy to come out, waiting for the guy to come out, waiting for all these other guys come out in the big garb. They all have there's extreme rituals and the gold and this and whatever, and they've got all the stuff, the big dresses, the colors and whatever. It's very weird, and it's very like uncalled for, I think, in this world. So anyway, at the same time, I'm realizing that these people are all very wealthy. Doesn't matter that they're cardinals or whatever, they've got their wealth and power. The church bank is very wealthy. I know that. They own a lot of corporations. They own munition corporations and whatever. They're a big, large, huge business, right? But so I'm watching this happen. I'm watching all this fanfare. These guys running around. And then I'm thinking of the Bible, right? The Bible flashes through my brain, the Old Testament, way, way, way back to Genesis. It just flashes. So, of course, the Old Testament, Genesis, is also the Jewish Bible. There's a lot of people who agree on the things that happened and whatever, and things that were said. Boom. So, what does God say? The very first thing. Didn't waste any time. Very first thing God says, put no idols before me. Okay, I knew that since I was a kid. To put no idols before me. And the Pope an idol? Is it the huge, huge idol? The way people are crying. The guy was in his Robo Pope mobile, Mercedes, waving at all the poor fuckers in the streets, starving to death. Ha ha ha! Yeah, fuck you, fuck you. That's why there was a shield around, so you couldn't hear him say "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." You know what are they doing? They helping people. Are they helping people? Even the goddamn lottery helps people sometimes. You buy a ticket for $1, you can win. That's a better deal than you're gonna get with the Catholic Church right there, man. Right there. Come on. Put no idols before me. It means nobody. And you know what's really funny? I remember when Francis, I think it was Francis, one of those, or the one before him, Ratzinger. Ratzinger was a Nazi. the Pope before Francis, he was a Nazi in the Nazi army, and he makes all kinds of excuses for that and whatever. But I'm not sure if that's the kind of person you want, the great conviction that later becomes a pope. Very strange, but okay. But there was a movie that came out. It was one of those gloopy movies and animation, and it had the thing, the people with the big eyes and whatever. I don't even know what the hell it was called. I never saw it, and I never wanted to see it, and I didn't care. But then the Pope was coming out against the movie, so I started paying attention. And he's like, "Those are idols. People are idolizing. They're idols and whatever." And then you realize that it's not about idolizing. It's about attention. The Catholic Church didn't want people paying attention, all that attention, and giving him money or whatever for some kind of stupid movie and merchandise because it takes money away from them, right? So they say, so the guy who is the idol tells you not to worship these other idols, but only to worship him and what he represents. They ever talk about Jesus Christ? I hear a lot of them talk. They more tell you what you should do politically with your flesh and bone body. You really think that God's going to set you up in a way that if your flesh and bone body, if you steal a candy bar, that you're going to go to hell? You know, I mean, there's a lot of flaws in that logic. But if you talk about a creator, that creator wants nothing from you but love, not worship, not to submit, not to hurt other people in their name, but you on your own mission. So you wake up every day and you say, "Well, how can I serve God today?" Are you saying, "How can I serve God?" Or are you saying, "Really, how can I make myself better today? What can I do today to elevate myself?" Humans are the only creatures on the planet, the only animals that want to be better than what they are. Not everybody. Some people are happy being crap. Some people are psyched to be crap. But I'm talking about being better, striving to be better, striving to be more than what you are, striving to climb to higher goals, achieving. That's why the whole trans athlete thing is like, think about the concept. You got these girls who are spending all the time training, doing these things, getting to a certain point where they're competing, they're winning and whatever, because they're going against other girls, right? Here comes the trans guy who wasn't even good when he was racing against men, now races against women and beats them all. How demoralizing and disrespectful and messed up. And talk about, hurting women when you launch a rocket with a bunch of wealthy, overprivileged, brainless women into the atmosphere and it comes back down again. That is not an achievement of women. That is not an achievement of anything, really. Except you know what it is? It's a blatant in your face, another fu from a billionaire that you're the one struggling, you're the one having a hard time paying for food, you're the one having a hard time covering your bills, taking care of your kids and living your life and whatever, and all the other shit you got to worry about. And then here's this publicity stunt for a guy who wants to be able to launch people up in his rocket for $1 million a head that the average person is not going to get to do. The average person ain't going up in there. A stunt. That's what's wrong with the world, right there. If you want to know what's wrong with the world, if you want to know what evil is, that's a sliver of it. That's a part of it. You know. And then what do? Women of achievement. There's a lot. There's a lot. You never hear anybody talk about any of them. Only when they're making some kind of documentary and getting paid to do it. But what about the ones? What about the ones out there? I'm telling you, my mom had cancer. All those nurses in there, they were all women. The ones I saw, they were all the hardest working, most amazing, loving, caring people. And these strangers who are coming in there and they're showing all that love and support and that connection. Those are heroes. Those are heroes. They're easing someone's pain, and they know most of those people aren't going to come back one day. Most of those people aren't going to make it, but they're easing people's pain, easing their feelings as they're sitting there in the cancer suite, looking out the window, around, surrounded by other people, getting the same treatment. Those are heroes. Going up in a rocket, coming back down again. That's not an achievement. That's not anything. So whatever, man. That's the way they want you to believe. They want you to believe that type of stuff, and it's just showboating from a bunch of people that have no humility for nature or people or anything like that. So anyway, you know what? I'm gonna end the show. On that note, it's about time anyway. Hope you had a good night tonight and whatever. I'm trying to get things together to take phone calls, man. I had a Motorola phone that didn't work, and I had to return it and whatever. So now I'm kind of in the wash, but I got all this other stuff going on anyway. So, but I'm gonna get on top of it, and I'll see you guys. I got guests coming on. Trying to get John Edwards on the show, man, because you know what? I feel like I need to get him on the show. I actually know him through other people, and I put it out there like to have him on the show. So hopefully we'll get him. John Edwards, yeah, man. John Edwards. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week on this show, and hope you had a good time. Definitely check out News on the Flip Side and UFO Undercover Wednesdays, News on the Flip Side Saturday, and the chat on Saturday right before this show. And then me. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.